welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a spinning pinwheels bracelet with beads from a couple of different vendors that I use. Some of the beads are from Red Panda, and I've got some other items that I'm using from Fire Mountain Gems and also Amazon. So other stuff is from my bead stash. I'll include links in the description box below that you can find where to get all these products used in today's tutorial. So if you click more below the video, you'll get all the details, including a link to my website. So here's a quick glimpse of what I'm making today. I've kind of got it started, so it's basically done in components, and it's called spinning pinwheels, and it does kind of resemble that if you look at that. Now I did do a modification to the original design. The original design with just using 50 seed beads in the center here. Well, I wanted to try using rose montees instead with seed beads surrounding it to give it a pop. So I decided to incorporate both of those ideas and alternate rose montee with seed beads. And that gives that a very interesting look. So that's what we're going to be working on today. For materials, you're going to need 4-pound Fireline. And each component uses about 2 feet. And I'm using a size 12 beading needle. For my beads, these are called Honeycomb beads. It's a 6-sided 2-hole bead. I got those from Red Panda Beads. I'm also using some 3mm Bicone crystals. Those I got from Amazon. And some 3mm rose montees. Those I believe I also got from Amazon. I'm also using 50 seed beads. These are a metallic green iris. Those came from Fire Mountain Gems. And then I'm using some pinch beads, and those came from Red Panda Beads. And then I've got some 11 Galvanized Gold, and those came from Amazon. So let me clear my area and we'll get started. The first thing you're going to do is thread your needle with about 2 feet of 4-pound Fireline. And we're going to start picking up our honeycomb beads. And this is a 2-hole bead. So if you notice, this has, it's called Crystal AB is the color. So it's kind of a pearlized surface. Now if I flip this over, you're going to see where the holes go through. This is considered the back side of the bead. So it's important to orient these beads when you're picking them up all the same way, because we're going to be going through the left-hand hole like this, because there's 2 holes here, and we're going in through the left-hand side. So we're going to pick up our first honeycomb bead. And you want to check your holes to make sure that none of these are blocked. So I've got my first honeycomb bead. Now I'm going to pick up an 11 and we're going to do that 4 times. Pick up a honeycomb bead, make sure you're going in through the left hole, another 11 a honeycomb bead, an 11 a honeycomb bead, going in through that left hole, and an 11 You're going to bring those beads down, and you want to leave about a 6-inch tail, because we're going to sew these all together, and then we're going to do a surgeon's knot, and we'll take care of that tail thread. So first I'm going to bring this all together, and I'm going to bring my needle back through all of the beads, making sure you're going through the hole that you've already been through in the honeycomb bead. So I'm just going to advance through all the beads, including the 11's. It's going to be a little flip-floppy for a while. So we're going to continue advancing until we meet where our tail thread is coming out. Okay, there's my tail thread, so I need to go through one more bead and the 11 right there. So I'm going to pull that all together, And this is my tail thread. I don't need a very long tail thread, so I'm going to put my needle down and do a surgeon's knot. So you do that by taking your tail thread, bring that over your working thread, and then bring that tail thread in through the loop 2 times. And you want to pull that, making sure your knot is in between those beads. Pull that nice and tight. So now I'm going to go around all of the beads, and we're going to reinforce that, and then I'm going to cut the tail thread off. So I'm just going to go back through my honeycomb bead and 11-0, go through another honeycomb and 11-0, going through that same hole that we've already been through. Now I'm going to advance through 2 more beads, my honeycomb and the 11-0 right there. Now I'm going to clip this tail thread off to get this out of the way. So now that we're coming out of our 11-0, now you want to make sure you've got, this is your right side facing up, this is the wrong side. So I'm going to be trying to keep this with my right side facing up. I'm coming out of an 11-0, and I'm going to pick up 3 of my 15-0s, and we're going to make a picot. So I've got 3 15-0s. I'm exiting this 11-0. I'm going to go back through the opposite side of where I came through, right there. Now I'm going to, you want to make sure that picot forms with the peak at the top. Now I'm going to go through the honeycomb bead, that bottom hole, and through the next 11-0. We're going to repeat that, pick up 3 15-0s. I'm exiting this 11-0, going back through the other side, like that. Make your picot, making sure that that point is facing out. Now you're going to advance your needle to the next 11-0. You're going to repeat that 2 more times, and I'll meet you when we get to the last one. All right, I'm coming down to my last point where I have to put my picot in. I've got 3 15-0s. I'm coming out of this last 11-0, and I'm going to go back through the other side of where my thread is exiting. And I'm also going to advance through the honeycomb bead, that bottom hole, like that. So there's that last picot. Now from here, my thread is coming out of the bottom hole. I'm going to bring my needle through the empty hole of that honeycomb bead. We're going to reverse direction. Now I'm going to pick up 3 more 15-0s. My thread is exiting the top hole of the honeycomb bead. I'm going to bring my needle through the point of that picot, right there. Pick up 3 more 15-0s. I'm exiting the point of that picot. Now I'm going to bring my needle through that empty hole of the next honeycomb bead, right there. And we're going to repeat that all the way around. Pick up 3 15-0s, exiting the honeycomb, going in through the point of this picot. Pick up 3 more 15-0s and go in through the empty hole of the next honeycomb bead. And then I'll meet you when we get to the last one. I'm coming out of this honeycomb bead, getting ready to do my last section here, and I've got 3 15-0s on my needle, exiting the honeycomb, going in through the point of this picot, Picking up 3 more 15-0s, exiting this point of the picot. Now I'm going in through the empty hole of the honeycomb bead, right there. So that's what you should have so far. So from here, we're going to advance our needle through the next 4 beads. Bring your needle through these 3, and then this 4th one just below. So I'm going to do this in 2 steps. I'm going through these 3, and now I'm going to bring my needle through where the top of the picot is, right here. Now I'm going to pick up a pinch bead and a 15-0. Actually, I'm going to pick up my pinch bead and a total of 3 15-0s. Now I'm going to pick up another pinch bead, like that. So I'm exiting this center bead here. I'm going to go directly across to the other side, and I want to be coming out of that picot bead directly across, right there. So I'm going to pull that through. Now I'm going to go back through the pinch bead, and I'm going to go back through all of the 15-0s and the pinch bead on the other side. Now I'm going to come back through the 15-0 that I started in the opposite direction. So my thread is on this side. I'm going to come through the top of that 15-0, like that. That's what you should have. You want that to be sitting on top, and you're on your right side. So from here we're going to advance through the next 3 beads. Now we're going to advance through the honeycomb top hole. Now I'm going to advance through the next 4 beads. So I want to be coming out of that picot bead at the tip there. Now I'm going to pick up another pinch bead, and I'm picking up 1 15-0, and we're going to go through the center 15-0, like that. Now we're going to go through, pick up our pinch bead, correction, you're going to pick up a 15-0, sorry about that. You're going to pick up a 15-0 and then your pinch bead, like that. Bring that down, and now we're going to go through the picot bead right here. And pull that tight. Now we're going to go back through the pinch bead, the 15-0, the 3 15-0s in the center, and the pinch bead, like that. Now we're going to bring our needle back through the opposite side of where our thread started here. So we're going to come in through the top of that picot bead, like that. Now I'm going to come back up through the pinch bead and one of the 50-0s, that first 50-0 right there. Now I'm going to pick up another 50-0. We're exiting the 50-0 at the head of this pinch bead. I'm going to go in through this next 50-0 in front of the pinch bead like that. Pull that through. Going to pick up another 50-0. I'm exiting that 50-0 in front of this pinch bead. I'm going to go in through the next 50-0 in front of the next pinch bead. Right there. I'm going to pick up another 50-0. And I'm exiting the 50-0 from this pinch bead. I'm going to go in through the 50-0 in front of the next pinch bead, like that. Now I'm going to come down through this pinch bead right next to that 50-0 I went through. Now I'm going to come through the 50-0 in that picot, like that. Now I'm going to pick up a 50-0. And I'm exiting this 50-0 right here at the top. I'm going to come through the next 50-0 below it, and then through the 50-0 where my needle started, through those two beads right there. And what we're doing is adding a 50-0 to give it a little point right there, like a mini picot right there. Now I'm going to advance my needle through these next three beads. Advance my needle through the honeycomb bead. Advance my needle through the next four beads. So I'm coming out of that picot. I'm going to pick up a 50-0. And I'm exiting the picot bead. I'm going to go through the bead below it and the bead where my needle started, through those two beads. And you're putting another point there. You're going to do that 2 more times, and I'll meet you when we get to the last one. All right, I'm coming down to my last. I've got my points on these 3. I just exited this honeycomb bead. I'm going to advance through the next 4 beads. And I want my needle coming out of that picot bead, right there. Going to pick up one 50-0. Exiting the picot, I'm going to go in the bead below it and through the picot bead right there. So that's what you should have with the 4 points. So now what I'm going to do is advance my needle through the next 3 beads and through the honeycomb bead. Make sure your needle is exiting the honeycomb bead. And that's going to complete this component. So we're just going to leave our working thread on, because we're going to be connecting these. So that's that component. We're going to do another component, but with a rose montee in the middle. So that will be next. For our next step, just like we did with our first component, we're going to pick up a honeycomb bead and an 11/0 4 times, making sure that you're going in through the hole on the left-hand side, and this is my right side facing up on my honeycomb beads. So get those all strung on, and you're using 2 feet of Fireline. We're going to pull that till we have about a 4 to 6 inch tail. Sit your needle down. Just make sure you have those all lined up. Now we're going to go back through all of the beads. Making sure you're going through the same holes. And we'll flip this over once we get all of our beads through, getting our needle all through all the beads. So I'm going to continue advancing. And it's going to be a little loosey-goosey here till we get to the other side. So keep advancing until your working thread has met up with your tail thread. So there's my tail thread. Pull this all together. Now I'm going to set my needle down and just pull this snug. We're going to do a surgeon's knot. Bring your tail over the working thread. Bring it through the loop twice. And pull that nice and tight to bring that all together. Now I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to advance through a few beads. I'm going to go through this honeycomb bead, my 11/0 honeycomb bead, I'm going to advance through, let's get this tail thread out of the way. I'm going to advance through this 11/0 honeycomb bead and that 11/0. Pull that nice and tight. And I'm going to clip my tail thread off right here. So now from here we're exiting the 11/0. We're going to pick up 3 15/0s. Exiting this 11/0, we're going to come in through the opposite side, pull that through, and you should have a little picot like that. And now we're going to advance through the next honeycomb bead and through the next 11/0. And you're going to repeat that 3 more times. Pick up 3 15/0s, go back through the 11/0, the honeycomb and the 11/0. Pick up 3 more and continue, and I'll meet you when we get to the end. All right, my thread is coming out of this 11/0. I've got 3 15/0s. I'm going to go back through the 11/0 on the other side and then through my honeycomb bead. So that's what we have so far. Now I'm going to reverse direction, go through the empty hole of the honeycomb bead. I'm going to pick up 3 50-0s, exiting my honeycomb bead, and now I'm going to go through the point of the picot right there. Pick up 3 more 50-0s, exiting the point of the picot. Now I'm going through the next honeycomb bead empty hole right there, and you're going to repeat that 3 more times. I'm coming out of my last honeycomb bead, picking up 3 50-0s, going in through the next picot point, picking up 3 more 50-0s, going in through the empty hole of the honeycomb bead. Advance your needle through the next 4 beads, right there. Now this is the part that's going to be different because we're going to use a rose montee instead of the 3 50-0s in the middle. We're going to have a 50-0, a rose montee, and a 50-0. So we're going to start by picking up one of our pinch beads. We're going to pick up a 50-0, a rose montee, it doesn't matter which hole you go in, and then you're going to pick up another 50-0 and another pinch bead. So right now we're coming out of this point of our picot here. We're going to rotate our work and we're going to come back through the opposite side picot like that. There's my working thread here, and I'm coming out of the, oops, my needle came out, coming out of the 4th bead right here. So I'm going from here to here. Pull your needle through and make sure this is the right side up. You want that pinch bead and rose montee sitting upright on top. Now don't worry about the rose montee being upside down. We're going to flip it around here when we do the other connectors. So now I need to go back through my pinch bead, the 50-0, and the rose montee. And you want to make sure you don't miss anything. So it's kind of tricky here. Just make sure your needle is going through that hole and also through the pinch bead. Like that. Pull that through. Nice and snug. And now we're going to come back through the picot bead on the opposite side of where our thread is. So I'm going to come through the top. Right there. So from here I want to travel so that I'm coming out of this point. So I'm going to advance my needle through the next 3 beads. Now I'm going to advance through the honeycomb bead, top hole. And if your thread gets caught on anything, just try to make sure it doesn't, just unsnag it. Now we're going to go through the next 4 beads. Right there. Now we're going to pick up a pinch bead and a 50-0. And we're going to go through the rose montee, but notice that it's upside down right now, so I've got to kind of push this up because I want to be coming through underneath my montee like that, so that my shiny side is up. Now we're going to pick up another 15-0 and our other pinch bead, and we're going to come through the picot on this side, right there. You want your needle coming up. So pull that up. Now I'm going to go back through the pinch bead, the 15-0, the rose montee, the 15-0 on the other side, and the pinch bead, like that. It's a little tedious, but just take your time and make sure you're not missing any beads. So now I'm going to go back through the picot bead on the opposite side of where my thread is. So I'm going to come down like that. Now I want to come back up the pinch bead because we're going to put two 15-0s in between each of the 15-0s that's already here. So I'm going to go back up through the pinch bead and through the first 15-0 right there. Now you could skip the step, but this just to me gives it a little more contrast. So I'm coming out of this 15-0 on the other side of this pinch bead. I'm going to pick up two 15-0s, and now I'm going to go in through the next 15-0 in front of this pinch bead, and it's a little tricky. Just kind of wiggle your needle in there like that. Pick up two more 15-0s. We're going to go in through the next 15-0 in front of the next pinch bead right there. Pick up two more 15-0s. Go through the next 15-0 in front of the next pinch bead right there. And we're going to do that one more time. Pick up two 15-0s. Exiting here, going in through this 15-0 and the pinch bead. Like that. So that's what you should have. So now we're going to bring our needle down through that picot bead right there in the center. We're going to pick up a 15-0. We're going to start making our points all the way around. So I'm coming out of the picot, picked up a 15-0. I'm going to come to the bead below that and then through the picot. So we're going through these two beads. We're going to add that point like that. Now we're going to advance through the next three beads and the honeycomb bead. And we're also going to advance through the next four beads. We're going to pick up a 15-0, go through the next two 15-0s, and you're going to repeat that all the way around. All right, I'm coming out of my last honeycomb bead, advancing through these next four beads. I'm going to pick up a 15-0, coming down to the bead below the picot and then through the picot, so through those two beads. And that completes my points. So now I'm going to advance through the next three beads and through the honeycomb. Like that. And that completes that component. So that's how you do each of these components. If you need to rewind this video, please do so. And you're going to make enough components for the length of the bracelet that you need. And now I'm going to show you how to do the connecting process. So from here, this is what I have so far. I've got a total of 5 done, and I'm going to add these 2. So I'm going to show you how to do the connecting. It's really super simple. So just make sure whatever pattern you choose, you can do all rose montees if you want, or you can do all seed beads. If you don't have rose montees, that's fine. Or you can use a 3mm pearl, whatever. Your options are endless. And then just arrange them the way you want. And here is where we're going to do our connecting. So we're going to have 2 bicones on each side to do the connection. So what we're going to do is I'm going to connect my seed bead center here. And to do that, I've already got a needle on here. So when you're doing these components, you're going to leave your working thread on so that you can do the connecting. So right now I've got this component with my thread coming out of the honeycomb bead here. I'm going to pick up one of my 3mm bicone crystals, bring that down, and I want to arrange this so that my working thread is in the opposite side, because I'm going to connect using this honeycomb bead here, and then this thread on this end will be used to connect the next one. So I'm going to bring my needle through the top side of this honeycomb bead. Let's do that with my right hand. So we're going to come through the honeycomb bead. And make sure you're just going through the honeycomb bead. You don't want to go through any of those 50-no's. And just pull that together. Now we're going to pick up another 3mm bicone, like that. And now we're going to bring our needle through the bottom direction of the honeycomb where we started, right there. Very simple connection. If you don't have bicones, you could use 15-O's or 11-O's in the middle with pops of gold. Any way you want to do it. So all we're going to do now is we're going to reinforce 3 times. I'm going to go through. So I'm coming out of this honeycomb bead. I'm going to go back through my crystal. And just pick it up and hold it in your hands and pull. Make sure you don't have any slack. I'm going to come back down that honeycomb bead. Like that. Now I'm going to go through the bicone here at the bottom and back up through the honeycomb bead. And I'm going to reinforce that one more time. Alright, so I have this reinforced a total of 3 times, and now my thread's coming out of the honeycomb bead. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to advance my needle through a few beads, do a couple of half hitch knots, and then I'll clip my thread off. So I'm just going to come through some of these seed beads through my picot, through these next 3 seed beads. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. You can advance a different direction if you choose. Now I'm going to do a half hitch knot here by bringing my needle under a thread bridge. Pull this till I have a small loop, then bring my needle back through the loop. And you want that knot to fall in between the honeycomb bead and the 50-no. So just pull that nice and tight. Now I'm going to go through a few more beads, just like that, and then I'll tie my thread off and we'll go on to the next step. So you're going to continue connecting your components just like this. coming through the bicone or through the honeycomb bead, having your 3mm crystal, then going through the next honeycomb bead, your next 3mm crystal, and through the honeycomb bead, reinforcing that 3 times. Then you're going to advance through a few beads, do a half hitch knot, and continue advancing, and then you can cut your thread off, and then we'll come back and we'll add the clasp. All right, we're coming near the end here. We're going to be adding our clasp on, and I've already done part of it on the other end. Super simple. You're going to pick up, coming out of your honeycomb bead here, you're picking up 4 15-ohs. I'm going to add a wire guardian. Let's bring that down. Now I'm going to come back through the wire guardian, and I'm going to pick up a soldered jump ring, size 4mm. And I'm going to bring that down so that it comes through my wire guardian. And that's just going to give me some versatility and extra strength. So let's pop that in there. Now I'm going to pick up 4 more 15-ohs. And I'm going to come through the opposite side of my honeycomb bead. Right there. And that connects your wire guardian. And that O-ring is going to be at the end. So from here you're going to reinforce this a total of 3 times. Come back through your 4mm, your wire guardian, come through that loop, and then back down and through, and then advance and do some half hitch knots, and then you can snip that thread off, and we'll go on to adding the clasp and the extender chain. All right, so here's what we have so far. We've got our wire guardian at the end with our soldered O-ring, and this length ended up being about 6 inches. So our clasp is going to add probably another 1/4 to a 1/2 inch, and then we'll have our extender chain with that to add even more length. So we've got a total of 7 components that we did to get a 6-inch finished piece here. If you need to make it bigger, just add more components, or you can, add more O-rings or extender chain. So now we're going to go on to our last step of doing our clasp. So I've got a lobster clasp here and a 6mm jump ring. We're going to just fasten that on one end. I'm going to take my 6mm jump ring, and we're going to open that by twisting that towards you, like that. Now I'm going to slip that through my soldered O-ring, right there. I'm going to put on my lobster clasp. And now we're going to close that. Very simple. So now we're going to do our other side and do our little extender chain. Now before we do the extender chain, I'm going to add a little decorative crystal at the bottom with a leaf. All right, so to do this last section here, I have an eye pin. This is like about a 2-inch eye pin. I'm going to start by putting on my little leaf accent on first. So I'm going to open up my eye pin by pulling this towards me. Put my little leaf on. Now I'm going to close this. And I'm going to add a 3mm bicone. Like that. I thought that would make a really cute dangle. All right, so from here, I'm going to take my round nose pliers, put that just above my crystal, and I'm going to bend that 90 degrees. like that. Now I'm going to turn my round nose so that it's on top, and I'm going to pull the wire towards me and then down towards the table. I'm going to rotate my pliers towards the table and pull this wire straight back. Now I want to put this on the end of my extender chain, so I'm going to open this just enough to slip it over. Like that. Now I'm going to take my skinny pliers, hold that right where it crosses, and I'm going to bring this chain, hold that with my finger to get that out of the way, and we're going to wrap. So I'm just going to wrap this around a couple of times. Now I'm going to clip that extra piece of wire off. So now that we have that completed, we're going to use our crimping tool to smooth down any rough edges that we have. So I'm going to hold one end with my pliers, take my crimping tool, and just gently squeeze, being careful not to break your crystal. Get that rough edge down. That looks pretty good. So there's our little dangle. So now we're going to open up our jump ring here. Slip that onto our soldered ring, and then the other end of our extender chain. And close it. So there is our completed bracelet. Let me raise this up a little bit. Very pretty. The finished length on this ended up being, with the lobster clasp and the extender chain, it's about minimum 7 inch, and you can extend this to 8 to 8.5 inch if you needed it for a larger wrist. So the length came out pretty close to what I wanted. Very pretty, and lots of earthy colors. So this concludes today's tutorial. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and thank you for joining me today. There will be links in the description box below with all of the materials used in today's tutorial. So feel free to check that out. And Red Panda sent me a discount code, and this is for customer referrals, so you'll get 20% off your order. If you choose to check them out and place an order, it'll take 20% off your purchase. So I'll include that discount code on the screen and in the description box as well. I do have a website where I sell my own jewelry. You'll see a link to that as well. Check it out and keep an eye out, because I do have periodic sales throughout the year. If you're not a subscriber, I hope that you do subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you know when I'm uploading new videos. And feel free to leave a comment, and a thumbs up would be awesome. So I want to thank all of you who have subscribed and keep coming back to watch my videos. I really appreciate your return visits. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Happy beading, and I'll see you next time.